oftentimes I say I'm an optimist, and I just know that delightful surprises happen. David is here volunteering his time. He's an amazing presence, and we have like celebrity in the house. And each and every one of us who are here, that is a wonderful thing. And so I continue to be so grateful and astonished. And oftentimes I say I'm an optimist. Anyone ever here say they're an optimist? Yeah. And today's topic is about things must get better. And so I know that things are always on the up. We're on the upward spiral. We know that we're onward and upward. We're on the uplift. We're on the inspiration. We're inspired. And yesterday when I was flying from Sky Harbor, Phoenix to Sunport, don't you love that? Sky Harbor to Sunport. Yeah, I did come back. I came back. I found myself in like this peaceful lounge. It was like there's all this hustle and bustle around me. And here I had like this lounge with a plug so I could be plugged in and charged up. And I like had this palatial thing, even a recliner with my carry-on. It was just like the most fantastic time. And it was kind of a nice culmination to the whole, I had a spur of the moment type of getaway that a friend said, let me give you a ticket, let's go have some fun. And I got to be with some colleagues and some friends and get wet in my swimsuit and have some nice visits. And so there I was plugged in. And so at this gate, I'm watching all this hubbub. And so here I am, peaceful and calm and serene in the midst of all this hubbub. And I swore, oh, I didn't mean to swear. There were two agents, and I think they were falling in love. The one gal, I overheard it on the intercom. She says, "Lance, are you asking me to go to Albuquerque with you?" And it's on the intercom. And then they proceed to say, "And now we would like to welcome any passengers who have carry-on luggage that can't fit in the overhead bin." Do you ever know anyone like that who has too much luggage? And it just won't fit. And they're lugging it around. And they also said, well, we've overbooked the flight, and we want to just have people come forward to the desk who can fly out tomorrow. And we also want to know how you can have the lifestyle where you can just have the luxury of flying out tomorrow. How do you have a life that permits that? And then they also said, now, we also want these people to board that, when people clap when you land, we want you to land. We want you to, the people who clap when you land the plane, we want you to board now too. And so, so this was on Southwest, and you know how they give you a number? Yeah, it's so much fun. So I was 31A, and so there was 32B. 32B was behind me. And so 32B, they said to the pilot who was standing, because they've got these electric things where I can download the ticket now, and you put your boarding pass right up at the thing. And so the one guy says to the pilot, because they're all, looking really handsome, and they're standing right there as you show your boarding pass and get it just right. You had to put it just right. And so 32B says, I've never flown before, except that, well, there was that one time. And, well, I just want to be brought down safely. I'm a little scared. And the pilot says, well, okay, ma'am, I've never left anyone in the air. So this gives us real confidence as we're... So we have an opportunity knowing things must get better, and that we have that confidence and poise and that assurance that we're in good hands, and that we can trust, and we can have that trustworthiness that's within our own selves. And so yesterday was World Empowerment Day. So I'm sitting in my airline seat, and I'm celebrating World Empowerment Day, and I'm thinking, how do I empower my world personally? How do I empower the community world? How do I empower the global world? And it's through personal transformation. How do I do that? Well, I focus on myself individually, and then we all show up as these beautiful expressions connected in this wholeness and this holiness and this oneness. And to know that we're in a safe place and we're in a trustworthy place, that we've never really left anyone in the air. And so I was acknowledging those things that I was doing toward empowerment. And so in traveling and just going to have some peaceful rest and some refreshment, and I took a morning walk with a friend. That's always something delightful. I also strengthened some relationships with some friends, with myself, some people I love. it was just great. And I know I had some folks supporting me back here, watching my dog Becky, and I was asking also for one of my colleagues for coaching and development in this new area of expression, and what would you do, and exploring options, and looking at what the newness can bring in that. And then I also was turning off all sources of entertainment. I really got to spend some time in that rejuvenating and energizing presence. So I just turned off some of those outer noises. Anyone have outer noises in the world? Not necessarily even in an airport, but to know that there's that inner power that's charging us up with that wholeness and that holiness and that experience of the oneness and the stillness which we can all access, and it's ever available, and it's that ever-present knowingness of that harmony that's in our life. And so I was letting be and setting free that spirit that's already within me, letting be and setting free the spirit that's already within me. And then I was also when I got home, I was having some quiet time, some reflection time, which really was a beautiful thing to say how grateful I am. And not only had my friends texted and called me when they were at their, I had a nonstop flight, thank goodness. I was nonstop, unstoppable. But one of my friends, that converged on all this play and fun, and they had a stopover in San Francisco on their way to Oregon, and so it was a beautiful thing that they called and said what a wonderful time, and so that was part of my reflection in the evening on my gratitude, how grateful I am. And so I know that I'm an optimist, and that as I'm letting be and setting free the spirit that's within me, I can ask myself, how do I empower my personal world, my world of my community? How do I empower the global vision that I'm a part of? So it's an invitation today to jumpstart, much like the flight attendants who were sitting in those seats that are ready to be of service. And I can ask, what's my highest and best choice today? What's my highest and best choice? And I think we can all ask ourselves that. What is my highest and best choice for my well-being? For enhancing serenity and calm within myself, for knowing that I'm always provided for, that all my needs are met, that I'm part of something larger, that there's an abundant life, a source and supply that is infinite, that I'm tapped into. And I see some folks nodding their heads yes, and I know that there is that space within that relationship with my well-being, that optimal place. There is that space in that optimal place of my abundance and my prosperizing good, and they're in the relationships that I was strengthening and having more love and compassion and understanding and being of support. And it was reciprocal. It was this beautiful, beautiful circle of reciprocity and just sharing that energy and that flow and being in that flow of the relationship. So I can ask, well, what is the highest and best choice that I'm making today? And so we have some spiritual practices here, and you can take them home. There's a handout that looks like this that's easily foldable in your wallet or in your shirt pocket. Foldable. So there's spiritual practices. So oftentimes we can have undistracted attention on that which is true and real about us, to eliminate some of those distractions, like in an airport. And we can get that cushy seat and recline and just have that moment to be divine as we recline into the divinity of who we are. So in meditation practice, we have that undistractable attention on that which is real, our true essence, that love that is within us, the peacefulness, the joy, the grace that fills that space. So we can still our mind, and we can awaken our awareness and have those self-realizing spaces in our lives. We also have affirmative prayer, which elevates, much like an airplane, it elevates our awareness of our oneness. And so as I look out at that, lift the shade up in that airplane, and I look out at that vast sky and that horizon, there's something larger here, something larger that I'm a part of. I'm a part of this experience. And so what we do is we have that intimate connection in affirmative prayer of our oneness, of that being part of something larger that speaks to us in the language of our own heart. We have our own way of how that speaks to us. Some of it comes to us in music, like how I ended my evening last night, was being grateful in reflection and then ending it with some music to just sing my, have my song in my heart and have a really, really good sleep. And visioning too, we'll talk a little bit more about this. It's an intuitive process. It's one of these tools, these spiritual tools for our tool belt that we have that optimizes and sensitizes our highest and best experience by being open to that intuitive guidance that's already within us. So it's an avenue through which we can listen and envision that which is of our life. And then being of service, knowing that we're part of one and that really it's its own blessing. There's that giving nature that is within us. And it is such a joy for me to connect with people and to be in that connection. And then study, too. I always have a beginner's mind. It's like, okay, I do wake up to a new world every day. And so we have that beginner's mind. And it invites us to be teachable. So I get to learn from those flight attendants and from those funny people who were falling in love at the check-in counter. And then also being active and supportive. And so that's in community. And I flew, don't have to fly to Phoenix to have a community, but it was great to be with people I've known and loved for decades and decades. So it was just incredible. And then knowing that there's the generosity of the universe and being open and receptive to accepting that. So these are some spiritual practices through which personal transformation takes place. And it shows up absolutely in our experience in so many ways. And we begin to notice, as we're aware even more and more about these, we notice results. So as we have visioning, and perhaps as part of our morning practice on occasion, whenever that is, we begin to then become aware of what we're envisioning for our life. And we notice even more and more those results. And then that's what our attention is on. That's where we're placing our energy. And so visioning, what happens with that is we're becoming whatever our true qualities are even more fully. We're being those qualities that are coming forward, that are already within us. We already are well-equipped to be. And my friend had called me up and she says, Darlene, my real name, Darlene. They call me Dee here because it's easy to spell, and the kids name me, it's one letter. And so she has the Center for East Valley in the East Valley. So they kind of divide Phoenix into quadrants, and she's got this section over here. And she says, Darlene, I've got the key. And she's so jazzed because they have been envisioning what their perfect space is like. And boy, it's like Architectural Digest or Better Homes and Gardens. It's better than Better Homes and Gardens. And so they're all jazzed about that because in the place that they've been meeting, they're now going to have classrooms and an office that are they're adjacent. So they had been visioning for about 2 years for this place, and it just came in so many beautiful ways. And it reminded me of a story that when I was in Los Angeles for about a decade, I worked with some nonprofit groups, and I had a really nice big window on 7th and Wilshire Boulevard at the Hilton. And it was really great because we could go out to the pool at lunch and have a good time. And I was really making a difference. A couple of my clients, one was the LA Society of Financial Analysts, which was part of a national nonprofit group, and then another group was the Foreign Trade Association, and just working with the cream of the crop kind of folks, and felt really altruistic that I was making a difference locally and also having some sort of a global impact in some ways. And it was just amazing. We were moving from the World Trade Center into the Hilton, and it wasn't ready. The World Trade Center it wasn't serving us anymore, and we were ready to move into something larger and had a better view and had a better conference room for people to sit and visit and make these highest and best choices. And I said, just remain open to the possibility. And for a week, because we had like a week gap, I said, for a week, give up finger pointing. For a week, give up scapegoating. For a week, give up complaining. For a week, give up all the nots or the no's and begin to say yes to possibility. Begin to say yes even more and more. And what's so amazing was the general manager it was kind of cool because we'd been down to his home in Vista where he had like this whole mountain where he lived. He lived on a mountain and it had these beautiful had a beautiful vista in Vista. and had these orange groves, like all these trees that were around, and then he had the house on the top. So he came over, and I introduced him to who I was working with, and he says, we can get you in. I'm going to make an investment. I'm going to see that you have this corner office on the 14th floor. I'm just going to make that personal investment for you for this month and make sure that you have what you need. And I think that by putting that out there in that field of possibility, that his walking over from that side of the building to this side of the building and being open to what idea wanted to come forth, he in essence handed us a gift and said, you're in. Wouldn't that be great to just wake up every day and just have this feeling of confidence and trustworthiness in the universe that you're in. You've already arrived. You've already made it. You're in. So it was an incredible thing as far as remaining open to possibilities and to just trust that there was that answer. I didn't know that he had construction folk that he could lend to us and see that we had what we needed. And I think what we did was we opened it up by being an optimist. We were optimistic that it was happening. It was transpiring for the highest and best. And that the highest and best choices were happening. And it kind of reminded me, on holiday last couple days, we saw the movie Monkey Kingdom. It's a Disney movie. Has anyone seen that? It took about 3 years to make. I'm kind of relating it to the construction that went on to get to get into this new office. It's a Disney nature documentary that it talks about the struggle of this one protagonist, this monkey named Maya. And so, in essence, to get from the World Trade Center to the Hilton, we were having some struggle. And what this movie says is this monkey, Maya, was raising her baby and being very protective, and it was in the wilds of Southeast Asia. And this monkey troop was well organized, and they had organized and they had a caste system. And so their main character, Maya, she was near the bottom of the ladder in their caste system. She knew all about the wilderness and about the wild things that might happen. There was some kind of a 7-foot lizard that kind of looked like an alligator. This is a Disney movie. But in essence, the higher up folk didn't really know what the lizard looked like because they were always out, getting all the food and doing all their social graces to be on the lower branch in life, and they were catering in essence to the folks on that higher branch of life. And what happened was they were able to help the whole community of monkeys regain their place where they were living. They had lost to another monkey troop. And so this is the drama that's going on. And so in the Monkey Kingdom, they were temporarily rousted out of their place that they loved, and that it had water and it had food, and it had a high vantage point where they could see what was coming. And it was it took the whole community to have them regain where they lived and to see that her baby was protected and that they were all provided for and taken care of. And so it was also kind of a funny movie because it reminded us of our own human nature. So it's funny that we could see in the characters that they had in this Disney movie. It was funny and it was also heartwarming. We could see the monkeys swinging on the jungle gym and having a good time. They found a birthday cake and they ate it. And they were like having way too much fun and going in windows and taking all this birthday cake. And they also were befriending a dog by grooming the dog, and the dog let them groom the dog. But it was very heartwarming and charming. And so the same thing of us moving and having that vision and that openness and being open to possibilities. This Disney movie, they went away to the big city. They went away to the big city, but they knew that they really belonged back in the jungle where the jungle gym was and where they could have fun and have a good time and be provided for. And as I reflect on this in my own life too, I know we have different environments that we all move in, and that what's beneficial to us in making our highest and best choices. We know what's funny and heartwarming for us. So back to the plane. There was a story that Eric Butterworth, who's a leader in New Thought writings. Anyone know of Eric Butterworth? He tells a story about how he was once flying from the West, and he was flying to Chicago, and he didn't have a nonstop flight. And there were hundreds of people that were milling around the airport in anger. It was kind of much like the situation where I'd found the lounger. I got to be in the lounge seat, have some serenity and calm. And he unfortunately had a stopover that wasn't so serene. And so Eric Butterworth was becoming somewhat frustrated, and he really needed to get to Chicago. And in his frustration, he remembered a gentleman named Edward Markham that had often helped him. And he said, when you're the hammer, strike. When you're the anvil, bear. So to be that there is that place where we can relax and have some serenity and calm. In other words, if there's something that we can do it. We can do it with our whole being, do it with all of our being. But if there's nothing that could be done, they had overbooked, I guess, his flight by about 3 times, so only about a third of the people could get on. He says, so just relax and to let it happen. So he could realize for that moment there was really nothing that he could do, but in himself realize that there's that inner power where he can be serene and calm. So Butterworth became aware of another gentleman who was across the way, and so there's all this hustle and bustle in the airport, and there's another gentleman who's calm and just sitting there and at peace, no matter what the circumstance. And he asked him, how can you be so serene and calm? And the gentleman said, oh, I haven't always been this way. But you see, I spent a year in a sanitarium, and I had much time to think about things. It was a great growth experience during which I made a covenant to flow with life. He had an agreement with himself to go with the flow, to trust and know that he was an optimist inside, that yes, things must get better. And he had that confidence. He said that all I learned in that time, that the goal in life is to let God express at all times, regardless of circumstances. And I've resolved never to let things that happen around me, all that stuff, all that turbulent stuff, or to have it overshadow that dynamic presence of God that's within me. To not be overshadowed by that, to not let it affect me. He says, I've found that outer things come to pass, but the inner power is within me. It goes on forever. It's always there. So the two of them sat and they had a calm and peaceful experience. So amidst of all this other stuff that was going on in the airport, they had a calm and peaceful experience. And when it came time for them to be impartially selected, guess what? They were too open to the possibility, much like the general manager of the Hilton saying, hey, I'll float you my resources for a month so you can get in. No problem. No problem here. No worry. No fear. They, out of the 1/3 that could fit on the plane, guess who was first? It was the man who was serene and calm. And guess who was second? It was Eric Butterworth. Yeah. They were letting be and setting free. So, and that could be a wonderful affirmation for our week, is I let be and set myself free. I let it be and set myself free. So, again, at the counter at those same agents that were falling in love. At the counter at the gate, this one person, I think it was 34C. We've gone from 31A to 32B, now 34C steps up and says, you know, I'd like this bag to go to Berlin, and I'd like this bag to go to California, and I'd like this one to go to London. And they said, you know, I'm sorry, sir, but we can't do that. And the agent says, or the man replied, no, that's nonsense. That's what happened on my last flight. So we can shift and let go and let be, and knowing that, whether we're bearing the weather, we had a little turbulence on the way back, and they said, well, go ahead and shut your shut your blinds so that it stays cool, because it's going to be 89 degrees when we land. And, there's some scattered clouds, but we'll do our best to have them fixed before. Those clouds they're some broken clouds, but we'll do our best to get them fixed before we get there. And then the pilot also said we've reached our cruising altitude, and then we'll be turning down the cabin lights because your flight attendants are going to look much nicer. If we turn down, I'm serious. This is Southwest. They've added this. And then they also said, as you exit the plane, make sure that you gather up all your belongings and you don't leave any children or spouses behind. So I did enjoy a little club soda on my return flight, and it reminded me of Anne Lamott's quote that laughter is carbonated holiness. Yeah, isn't that good? And there's wholeness and holiness within us. And so let's just take a moment. And she also ended our flight, truly. She says, now have a beautiful day filled with joy, compassion, and gratitude. Don't you love that? Yeah, that was so cool. I thought, wow, she's one of us. So I invite us to turn within for this moment of inner celebration. Much like carbonated laughter, much like there's the carbonated holiness that is optimistic, it is that which we're letting be and setting free. Being in this infinite presence and power, knowing that there is the inner presence here at all time, there is that which is the divine essence and divine presence that is within us. And I invite us to take a deep and profound breath right here and to just relax into letting be and setting free of this energy. Knowing that there is the divinity, the divine energy that is within us, that allows us to rise up above any circumstances and to know that there is the infinite glow and the presence and that wide horizon that just is so free and clear. And that what I know is that there is, on this very clear day, there is the beauty which shines. There is the beauty that is aglow. There is the beauty of the knowingness and the livingness of this love intelligence that is within us. It is divine guidance. It is that which envisions its life in the fullness of connection. And I know that I'm in this unified field of possibility, this unified field of love, of joy, of peace, of that which is serene and calm, that which is within me at all times. And trusting and knowing and relaxing into the sublime essence and knowing that it is all good in this beautiful place of grace, of love, of the divine essence and flow. Knowing that we are truly living in this flow of this generous universe and accepting all of the fullness, knowing that there is the divine source which is all, and allowing it to be even set free, more fully and free. And I'm grateful for the knowingness, knowing that there is this fullness of understanding of this beautiful life, and that it shows up, yes, as compassion and joy and understanding and gratitude. And I release this word knowing it is done in the full poise and confidence, and knowing that it is this place that is living itself, letting it be and setting it free right here and right now. And so be it, and so it is.